this series, we're with them as they leave no cupboard unopened.
Those are no stoppings again.
And no shelf unchecked.
Essentially, you're selling fake wine to members of the public.
We'll be there as they take on the businesses that flout the rules.
They've never got a good word for you.
And we'll be revealing the invisible risks you run every time you eat out.
You're exposing your customers to get food poisoning.
This week, the terror of the nighttime takeaway.
When you're drunk, I could put anything in my mouth and not even think about it.
They could give customers food poisoning.
And lunch at the local, but unwanted guests in the kitchen.
Oh, look, you've got insect legs in there.
A trip to the country causes a boot sale bust-up.
Lou, pack. We're off here, and we can go to hell.
I'll be looking at why we're also scared of Salmonella. It's probably the most common bacteria associated with food poisoning. And you may not be able to see what's on your hands before eating, but we can.
You can see these from space.
Look at that. You wouldn't touch that in the daytime, and yet somehow, magically after last orders, that becomes very attractive. It's a high-risk food, officially, and in tests, 1 in 5 kebab shops has been demonstrated to pose a risk to your health. 1 in 5. That's worse than Russian roulette.
The only thing I'd eat at 2 in the morning probably is a doner kebab because it's probably much the only thing that's open.
When you're drunk, I could put anything in my mouth and not even think about it.
Pizza, burger, whatever, I don't really care.
Anything that will absorb the alcohol, and if you're not sick, it's a bonus.
So it's clear, when we're boozed up, our guard comes down and food hygiene stops being our main concern.
I'm teaming up with a man whose duty and pleasure it is to keep us safe from the terrors of takeaways.
Why is it there if you're telling me it's not going to be sold? Why haven't you thrown it away? It's not ideal, is it?
How do you know what temperature that chicken is at?
Steve's Southend seaside patch gets 6 million visitors every year. That's a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of places to inspect.
There's fish and chip shops, kebab shops, Chinese, Indian.
And with over 40 years in the business, Steve knows that if you want to keep the public safe, you can't keep office hours.
If the food business operators always thought that we only came out between 9 and 5, there's a tendency that some of them just might think that they might get away with things at other times, such as Saturday nights. So we have to get out at a variety of times, and Saturday night is one of them. In you go.
Steve carries out unannounced spot checks on all the food joints, and the first place on his list is this pizza restaurant, slap bang in the middle of the seafront.
Hello there, Steve Brown from Southend Borough Council. I'm doing a revisit today.
When this place was last inspected, it didn't do very well on the borough's hygiene rating scheme. In fact, it got a 0. So the owner was told to make improvements.
What temperature does meat have to reach when you cook it to make sure that it's safe?
Change the colour and
The early signs aren't good.
Have you ever used, what temperature does that have to be
The way
as a
these
maximum?
pizza ingredients have been
5
left
is a
at
good
room
answer, but the law
temperature
says 8.
alerts Steve to a
Okay.
potential health
And
risk
I've
for
got a
customers.
feeling that what concerns me with these meats especially is that when they're at this 20 degrees, it's either barely refrigerated. This is going to grow bacteria. It can form toxins. Now, what are toxins? I'll tell you what they are. Bacteria will eat food, they'll drink water, and they need to go to the toilet sometimes. Where are they going to do that? They're going to do it on this food. That's toxins. That's stuff that can make people sick. And if it's put into the pizza oven, the bacteria will be killed by the high temperatures, but those toxins, those chemicals, they are not changed. And they could give customers food poisonings.
Even in your home, salami stored at room temperature can produce toxins which are not killed by cooking. And this can make you very
especially
sick.
the meats. Think about putting less food in, because the nearer you get to the bottom, the colder it is.
During the last inspection, it seemed that the staff had little knowledge of how to store, cook and prepare food.
The officer that was here 6 months ago said there was no evidence that people had food hygiene training.
Yeah, I do have a certificate.
You have a certificate?
Yeah.
Is it handy?
Yeah, I have.
You've got it here?
Yeah.
What about other staff? Are other staff trained?
There is 2 more.
Yes.
They're gonna go to the council and do the training, which is, I think, is for 1 day.
So this employee says he's completed a food hygiene course. It's time to put his knowledge to the test. Your specialist subject starts now.
As well as the temperature, are there any other safeguards that you have about growing bacteria?
No.
How many of these things will move out on a daily basis?
We do like, you mean every day?
What temperature would you look for to see that it's reached a high enough temperature?
Can't remember.
Okay.
The problems identified here 6 months ago clearly haven't been resolved. The time for warnings is over. This notice is the first legal step towards shutting a place down.
This must be done in what we call an improvement notice. It will say that it needs to be done within about 6 weeks, 2 months, right? And we will come and check it again, and it must be done, or there will be consequences, okay?
What do? You know, is there a point where you're going to shut this place down? Is it that serious?
The difference between a notice and a letter is that there will be a time, and it will say if you've not done what I'm asking you to do by, say, 6 weeks, 8 weeks from now, this will automatically go to court. So it focuses their mind. Prosecution, if they don't do it then, comes as the step after that.
Despite the threat of closure, the number of premises which actually get closed down remains quite small. Most inspectors would rather work with an establishment than get the courts involved. And after the first unannounced visit, most improve. It's just a pity that it takes a warning for them to do it.
Later on, I'm back in Southend as the people get merrier and Steve gets tougher.
I can only give you a score of 1, which is not a particularly good score. Don't let it slip again.
Hello, it's Suffolk, land of village greens, afternoon teas and country markets, run by country folk who have their own way of doing things. Here, food inspectors face a hygiene battle every bit as great as in the city. And it's one that these 2 women are determined to win. Yes, 2 of Mid-Suffolk's finest, Sarah Proctor and Caroline Johnson, are off to a boot sale, not to bag a bargain, but to make sure that the food on sale there is safe to eat.
A lot of people think that they can produce food at home and then they just turn up at car boots, and now at home there are different sources of possible contamination. They may have pets there, they might have babies there, you know, things like that which would be more specific to home catering.
So it's just ready to have a look round and see what we can find today.
Once a mecca for people flogging unwanted clothes, books and toys, it's now a huge market for those selling homemade jams, pies and cakes, not to mention mushrooms.
So what would this be? Is this just the stuff that is too big maybe to go into the supermarkets, or?
Yes, the seconds.
Oh, okay.
But they are organic.
Oh yeah.
I always say to people, you know, you can eat them just like sweets.
Obviously we would recommend that you wash them before you eat them. Got a little bit of compost on.
What many traders don't realise though is that once they make food for sale, their stalls and their kitchens are effectively commercial premises, which means they can be inspected for hygiene failings.
If you give us your name and address.
You made these at home, have
Yes,
you?
they're all made at home.
Yeah.
And even in this most traditional corner of England, they must listen to Brussels. Won't like that.
And you're registered with Baber District Council, are you?
Have I got to be registered?
Because under EU rules, anyone selling food commercially must register with their local council.
Hello there. From the Environmental Health Department.
Can you just explain what we've got?
Mixed pies, lemon curd,
yep.
banana loaf, and cheese straws.
And you make the cakes at home, do you?
Yes. I've got my kitchen registered.
Right.
Excellent.
Okay.
Do you put them in a bag, or how do you handle them?
Customers to put them in the bag. If they're eating them now, we just say we'll take it yourself, so we don't touch it.
Most of the vendors are fine with the new rules, but for some, it's regulation gone mad.
Hello there. From the Environmental Health Department, food team. So where do you get your stock from? Just general?
Wholesale.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And the apples are yours, are they?
My sister's.
Yeah. And are you registered with your local authority?
No.
No? And it's just, I mean, it's not a problem, it's just a food registration form. You just fill it in.
It's always a problem. They don't want to come near me. I'll tell you that now.
Right, okay, well, I mean...
I don't need the harassment.
Yeah.
I'd rather take it off the store.
It's up to you.
That's
As I said, it's free
Does
of
that
charge.
include these?
Yeah, it does actually.
Which regulations are we talking about?
It's an EC regulation 178.
Fine,
Which
I'll look
covers.
it up. And it's mandatory, you're telling me?
Yeah, for free of charge. You just register with your local
this year
authority.
it is, and next year what happens?
Just a registration.
Tell me what health risk these are.
There's no health risk at all, and the registration...
Fine. So why do I have to register them?
This is classed
Forget
as
it.
running a food
They're up.
business.
Lose, pack. We're off here. And you can go to hell, sorry. They're fresh apples, they were picked last night. Why do I need to register to sell fresh apples? You ever heard of anybody getting sickness from a fresh apple?
He's not keen on food registration. If you're storing food in the area, if you're selling food, you need to be registered.
I have a problem because I think we're over-regulated. It's unnecessary. It's a waste of public money sending officials there. Are they going to do this to people who sell by the roadside? Are they trying to restrict the supply of goods to people? What is the purpose of it?
And later on, when Sarah turns her attention from the country fair to the country pub, she doesn't fare much better.
I'm disappointed. I really thought it would be a bit tidier, a bit cleaner.
OK, there are hazards to eating out, but you're not always safe eating in either, especially if you're a bit of a stranger to the kitchen. 10% of university students have never cooked a meal before they leave home. Many of them don't even know how to boil an egg. So what do they know about food preparation? And more importantly, hygiene? We're going to find out. Tonight, our own food inspector, Ben Milligan's joining me at City University. Students' kitchens. Oh, this takes me back. Hello! Right, you're in for a food inspection, OK, gang? Right, because we've been told that this is one of the worst, if not worst, kitchens of the university.
Name and shame.
Yeah. There are 2.5 million students in the UK, and according to government figures, 20% of them get food poisoning each year. And looking at this, are you surprised?
What we've got here, your eggs in a bowl, broken eggs in the egg box. Who broke the eggs? We both?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
And
Yeah.
did you wash your hands after you broke the eggs?
No.
So what things did you touch after?
I touched almost everything here.
Okay, okay. So you've touched everything with eggs on your hands?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of us crack eggs without thinking about where they've emerged from and what could be on them. Even worse, eggs at room temperature are an ideal breeding ground for bacteria.
Have you got kitchen towel or?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got an old towel here. The chances are the egg will go on there, and then it'll be a nice substrate for bacteria to grow on.
When was this last cleaned?
A month ago.
Yes, a month ago. Right, the towels are going straight to the lab to see what's on them. Tell us, right, what could be growing on there and how ill these guys could be.
It could be Salmonella, E. coli, Campylobacter. You don't need many organisms on that because it'll grow in your intestines and it'll multiply, and then you'll get the diarrhoea and you'll get vomiting between 4 and 8 days. So it's not necessarily how much is on there, it's what's on there.
So you're saying just because of a sponge you can get all of those?
Yeah, definitely.
Hands up, everyone. Who's worried about dirty dishcloths? That will be all of you then. And you're right to worry. Lab tests showed that their towels were infested with bacteria. 100,000 per centimetre. That's enough to cause a serious stomach upset. But even worse, the green towel being used to dry pots and pans tested positive for coliform bacteria. And that's normally found down the toilet. OK, so hands out, you naughty boys and girls. Of course, the best way to stop germs spreading is by regularly washing our hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Sounds easy, but 85% of us don't do it properly. Let's have a look. All washed? No, they look quite good on the surface.
It looks all right, but it's what you can't see that's the problem.
So lights out then?
Please. OK, Ellie first.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. The white spots show where bacteria tends to cling on to all of our hands, around the fingernails and in between the fingers. Look at the nails.
That's your nails. That's the fingers.
David. Last and not least.
You can see these from space.
And the rest of you have all got dirty hands as well.
Naughty, naughty.
So, what are Ben's top tips in washing hands? Well, scrub under your nails because 20% of us have bacteria there that can cause vomiting and diarrhea. Wash both hands equally. Sounds obvious, but right-handed people wash their left hand more thoroughly and vice versa. And remove your jewellery when washing because it can be a haven for bacteria. OK, lights up. I'm absolutely shocked.
It's not necessarily the kitchen, it's the people.
I think we're gonna order a pizza.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. OK, your home and cleaning habits may be better than this, but there are still a few things we can all learn about kitchen hygiene. Firstly, antibacterial spray only works if you clean off surface dirt first. When wiping those worktops, use disposable paper towels, but if you do use a dishcloth, make sure you wash regularly at a high temperature. And you are pretty much up there in the wanted list for hygiene. I'm going to give that a C. Wouldn't you?
No.
Yeah, but you're harsh. We want to see an improvement because we'd like to see you in a couple of weeks' time. Still alive. Yeah?
It's easy to criticise the rules and regulations that surround food hygiene, but they're there for a reason, to keep us all safe. In Southend, it's closing time for the pubs and clubs. As the drinkers come out onto the streets, the takeaways are gearing up for their busiest period. To keep this lot safe, Steve Ram and I are still checking what's on the menu. Next in Steve's line of fire is popular burger joint, Dudas.
Hello. Are you in charge here at the moment?
Well, today, yeah.
Today you are.
Yes.
I've come here to make a food hygiene inspection. Thank you.
Vaughan, how long have you been cooking?
Since I was 16, 17.
Is it about the last person you want to see coming through the door?
Yes. I mean, I've dealt with health inspectors quite often. He's got to do his job, we're trying to do our job. Silly on my behalf, wouldn't it, to upset our food inspector?
There is a reason why Vaughan wants to impress the food inspector. Southend is signed up to a nationwide scheme to rate food hygiene. It's very simple. 5 is good, 0 is bad. The last visit, Vaughan just got a 2.
I was pleased to see that you've got Lion brand eggs because some people go for cheaper eggs and they're not always as good as they ought to be in terms of bacteria such as Salmonella. Lion brand eggs are pretty much a guarantee that you'll be all right.
Yeah.
So I liked that. OK.
Yeah, that's a tip right there. All eggs with Lion branding have come from hens which have been vaccinated against Salmonella.
What temperature are you seeing that the burger will reach to say that it's cooked enough?
I look for blood, I look for it to be cooked completely through the middle.
Yeah, so an absence of blood.
And it's turned minute time.
Right. We do recommend that now and again you check with a probe.
Yeah.
Burgers should be cooked at 75 degrees centigrade. Checking temperature is important in keeping food safe, either hot or cold.
Now, what are you doing to check that the temperature in here is always what it ought to be? Tell me what temperature.
Well, we normally keep our fridges round about the 2 mark.
You have it on a mark, OK. It ought to be written down what temperature you look for to make sure that the foods in this refrigerator are at a good temperature.
No written records means that Steve can't be sure that the staff are sticking to hygiene rules, and that could mean a low score.
The main problem, I think, is the fact that you haven't got that paperwork that I mentioned, okay? If you had that, it would be able to answer the questions, what temperatures should the refrigerators be? Because you haven't got that system, I can only give you a score of 1, which is not a particularly good score, so don't let it slip again. If you can do that, as I say, you could ask for a rescoring visit. Thank you.
Vaughan, not necessarily the result you were looking for there, 1 star.
Bit disappointing. Hoping for a few more now.
The scoring system is supposed to make people like Vaughan sharpen up their act, but keen-eyed viewers may have spotted a flaw. There is nothing in the law to force owners to display their scores.
Here's my problem with it. If somewhere has got 1 star, they're not forced to put it on the door, so you'll never know.
No, that's true, but the people who make these laws are thinking of the possibility of making it mandatory to put it on the door, but I think if people can't see a good score, they'll fear the worst.
Until it is law, you can always check scores on the council's website before you go out.
Late-night takeaways may be a big cause of food poisoning, but the granddaddy of bacteria responsible, yes, we're talking Salmonella, has many ways of getting into our bodies. Let's talk Salmonella. That's what's inside my little Petri dish here. It's probably the most well-known, the most common bacteria associated with food poisoning. Do you want a closer look? Let's put it under the microscope. See they've got little tails, and now that does help them move around. So where does it come from? Well, basically Salmonella lives in the guts of animals, so it can affect meat, dairy and eggs, but through contact it can also contaminate fruit, vegetables and shellfish. Salmonella food poisoning will give you watery diarrhea, stomach cramps, you'll probably vomit a lot, and you'll have a fever, and you'll probably get these symptoms 12 to 48 hours after eating contaminated food. And here's the best bit, it could all last up to 10 days. So can you taste Salmonella? Well, no, because contaminated food doesn't taste any different. I can tell you that Salmonella does like fatty foods such as chicken and eggs, and I've got some bad news for you. You can find Salmonella in chocolate. So, how can we avoid Salmonella? It's back to those pesky eggs again. Never crack a raw egg on a bowl containing other foods. Use a knife to crack the shell. Store eggs below 20 degrees centigrade. And to avoid cross-contamination, keep eggs apart from other food.
Back in Suffolk, and Food Inspector Sarah Proctor, a self-confessed stickler for high standards, is on her way to a country pub. Not for a game of dominoes by the fire, but to check out the kitchen.
With the pub menu, some pubs try to do too much and they have a lot of variety on the menu, and unless it's well managed, you have the risk of people keeping food in the fridge too long, handling it badly.
Sarah's become a bit of a regular at the Crown lately.
See what reception we get from him.
But for all the wrong reasons.
Hi there. You all right? Yeah, fine, thanks. How are you? Do you want to go in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Have a chat?
Yeah. Manager John Collis also doubles as the chef. Over the last 2 years, his hygiene ratings have been dismal, fluctuating between 0 and 2. Sarah's been trying to help him improve.
Keeping on top of the cleaning?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah?
Before starting her inspection, though, Sarah has to clean her hands. Easier said than done.
Just looking for your wash hand basin. Oh, not the easiest to get to.
Not today, eh? No. And then this is today's dirt on here, so microwaves as well. I mean, that's messing there from
That
that
looks as
side.
if what's happening here with the... But that isn't particularly clean, is it?
It's only today, my dear, because they will wash down every day.
What have we got in here then? This other
John is not only chief cook, he's also bottle washer, doing the cleaning as well. Might explain the ready meals.
These are going to be defrosted.
Yeah, that's what you asked me to do last time. Freeze them as soon as I bought them.
Yeah, and you'll just reheat those then?
Yeah, microwave them, yes.
Do you put a date that you freeze them on?
No, I'll use them fresh, but that's the backup.
Sometimes it is quite handy to put on what date you froze them.
Yes.
What's this? This is a bit of lasagna.
That's half the Charles portion last night. Let them go.
What, go out or
In
yours?
the bin.
Yeah.
No, not
there
out.
you go.
OK, that's the food. What about the equipment?
You've got quite a few tins in here, and some of them, you see, they've got flaking bits. You see, that could be on somebody's food, couldn't it? You've got risk of foreign body contamination.
Ooh la la, foreign body contamination. I think we might be about to find more evidence of that.
You've got dirt and debris in your... You see, you need to make sure they are clean. You've got some... Oh, look, this isn't really very good, is it? You've got insect legs in there, haven't you? I mean, obviously, people are going to eat with these, so...
Dirty cooking equipment and now dead flies amid the cutlery. It's not what Sarah was expecting after her last warning.
I mean, to be honest, I'm disappointed. I really thought, well, after the conversations we had, I really thought it would be a bit tidier, a bit cleaner.
Well,
I do feel you've lost your way a little bit. Do you not see that?
yeah, I think you could be a bit right, yeah.
Uh-huh. You want to carry on serving food?
Yeah.
Get it clean.
Yeah.
And then probably what we'll do is we'll get you to come back in the office and we'll have another chat about it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a gently worded ultimatum.
I would have thought that after the involvement we'd had last time with him, I thought standards would have improved, and I think they've gone the wrong way. The cutlery with all the bits in, just not acceptable.
If Mr. Collis doesn't clean up this time, he will face prosecution.
This is just a glimpse. I mean, I will be back on top of it again.
In Southend, Chef Vaughan managed to find his missing paperwork.
Because I don't want to write a letter saying you hadn't got it, and then, well, it was there all the time, and you knew that.
And Doodars was upgraded to a score on the door of 2. And in Suffolk, 2 weeks after her last visit to the Crown pub, Sarah returned to see whether John Collis had managed to clean up his kitchen. And you know what? It sparkled.
When you sort of spent a little bit of time cleaning, did you think, actually...
Everything has been out. Every mortal thing that's freestanding has been out.
And what about the insects in the cutlery drawer?
I think even you were quite surprised with what was in there. That's a lot better, isn't that? And again, you've had a good clean at the bottom here as well, haven't you?
Nice one, John. He's also hired a cleaner so the kitchen stays this way.
OK, some interesting results there, but the big question is, of course, will you be tempted the next time you're out to have a takeaway?
Not if I remember some of Steve's warnings, and not if I don't see a good score on the door.
You could always eat in before going out.
It's very sensible, Chris. Join us again next time as we reveal more of those dangers and how to avoid them. See you then.